to Jenn and Myrna read the Apocrypha.
That's us.
And we're in Jubilee. We're in chapter 5. We're going to start with verse 20 today. So it's kind of going to be a short video because we're going to just finish chapter 5 and then start the next video in chapter 6. So
yep.
I think that is easier for us old ladies to remember where we're at.
Talk to yourself. You just aged me by a bit here, my friend.
Yeah.
I do not feel old, but I am a lady. Thank you.
Over 10 years, I even aged you.
Yes. Okay.
Probably even more than that. Anyway, okay. We're going to share something about ourselves so you can get to know us a little bit more. Yes. So, Jenn.
Oh, I have no idea what you're about to say. Lay it on me, sister.
I know. Even in Latter-day Women Warriors, you two are like, oh no, Myrna's going to talk.
Okay.
Anyway, this is easy. You can handle it.
Okay, I hope.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color?
Uh-huh.
So, this is going to be funny.
Oh, no. I thought it was a straightforward answer.
Well, it is slightly straightforward. My favorite color throughout my whole life has always been blue. The irony is it's only in the past few years, and you know this, Myrna, that I've discovered I'm colorblind a little bit. Yeah. And it's in the blue range.
So she's not sure what is her favorite color.
Sometimes I'll be like, that's a really cool blue color. And my daughter's like, Mom, that is green. Well, it looks blue to me, and I'm claiming it's blue. Mom, that is not blue. And I'm like, well, that color there looks I really like that blue. And she's like, Mom, that's gray. That's not gray, that's blue. And we have color arguments. But now that I've taken those little tests and stuff, I really have a problem in the blue range. And so I think it's ironic now that my favorite color is blue.
Yeah, that's funny. My dad is colorblind too, and he never really told us until we were older and we were like playing Uno, and he kept putting the wrong color down. And I'm like, Dad, what's wrong? He goes, well, I haven't told you, but I'm colorblind. And I'm like, so all these years, have you just been guessing? I mean, it was like when I was in high school or something. He's like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I was just guessing. You were embarrassed to tell us you were colorblind? Like what?
I think it was so funny. I think it took him a while to figure it out, but yeah, he's totally colorblind. And most colorblind people can't see red and green. I mean, blue and green.
Yeah, there's definitely there's a red and green.
Red.
Yeah, and red. Yeah. Red and green are typical. Blue is not typical.
Yeah.
So it just says that my eyes process things strange. So purples are, I'll just let people know. If you want to be hilarious, you ask me if I know what color it is, because a lot of times purples, I can't distinguish, and I'll say it's brown.
Wow, that is very different.
So when you come to my house, Myrna, because you're going to be visiting me here in a little while, I need you to go into my bathroom, in my guest bathroom, and tell me what color the little rugs around the toilet and like little rugs there, what color they are, because I will tell you that they're brown, which is why they're in the bathroom, because it's a brown theme in there. But my kids,
aren't they violet? Are they different ones than when I was there before? Aren't they violet?
You say that like you're sure they're violet. And
that's what
I would not put the color violet. I would not put the color violet. That's a very strong purple color. Myrna, that is not the term. It's, my daughter says that they're totally purple, and I disagree with her and the rest of my family, and apparently now with you. They're not violet, they're brown.
Okay.
Brown. Why would I put violet carpet pieces in a brown themed bathroom? But apparently none of my family members thought anything about that and just let it go.
Well, I have another question for you.
Okay. Oh.
Why do you have a brown themed bathroom?
Okay.
Is that so that when your child has an accident, no one could tell because it's brown. I'm just saying.
No. It's like, okay, so when you buy a house and you now have a guest bathroom, which I never had to deal with fully before, like it has to have something in it. And I found these
Yeah,
towels that I really liked that had like this rusty color with it. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. So of everything in there ish was kind of on that rusty red color with browns.
yeah,
And then because there used to be a few more decoration kind of things in there, not as much now that I have more kids using that bathroom. But I happen to have those rugs sitting in my garage. And when I was unpacking things, I went, oh, perfect. They're brown. They will fit the bathroom because I didn't have rugs in there before and I was being cheap, Mara. I was being cheap. And I put them in there
I
and
love
no
it.
one questioned me. No one questioned me. Apparently, they were like, whatever, I don't care. But till the day I was like, I like those in here. I'm glad that I had those. And I think the browns look so great. And my daughter was like, "Er? Wait, mom, you think that those are brown? Because they're brown, mom. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Those are definitely purple. Okay, what are you talking about? Those are not purple. Yes. Yes, mom, they are.
Yeah,
I think you're colorblind. I'm not colorblind. Those are brown. And everyone else, even you went so hard. You went strong, Myrna. Violet.
that's what my brain remembers,
Okay.
but I
All
could be
right.
wrong.
I will now take a picture of said carpets. We will upload a picture of it
There we
and
go.
ask people to decide is it
What
brown or
color
is it
are her
violet?
rugs?
So that's
All
why
right.
I left immediately. Nice
Okay.
question, Myrna. So
Okay.
benign,
So
but
my favorite color has always been blue,
yep.
also, but it's been the
Okay.
BYU blue all my life, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, see,
BYU
and
blue.
and Dallas Cowboys are my team too, and they're blue too. So,
Okay. All right.
um, blue
So
has
you're
always been my
saying
color,
that
but
Dodgers are blue as well.
well, so are Yankees. And Yankees, I know they lost, but
I know.
they are better. Anyway, uh, we'll move on from that discussion. But in the last couple of probably
Oh my
7,
God.
8 years,
Yeah.
orange has been my favorite color. But
Yes.
I'm finding, I know this
Uh-huh.
is weird, but I'm finding, because I've been looking at getting a new motorcycle,
Oh.
and
Oh.
I've been looking at making it pink. Is that not weird for me? A pink motorcycle? Is that not weird?
Wow.
So
Okay.
pink is starting to come into my
You
life.
go,
I don't
girl.
know, but
You
yeah.
go, girl.
Anyway, so I'm fluid with my colors. Um, I just had to say it, Diamond.
You can wear your hot pink tool belt while riding your motorcycle.
That's right.
That
Anyway, but
says that's a statement.
I think the reason I like orange is because I like Halloween. So I think that's
Oh,
why I like
okay.
orange. But
Okay.
so I actually like a lot of different colors, but those are probably my favorite ones. So there you go.
Okay.
I'm not as stringent as other
Uh-huh.
people.
I see. All right. I like it.
Okay. All right. So Jen,
Yes,
give us a
ma'am.
quick synopsis of where we are at as we begin to read one more time and finish up chapter 5. You go there.
Okay. So in chapter 5, it was a lot about what happened once Adam and Eve left the garden. And so we have um this space of everything was created and ushered into the world, but now it's all become very wicked. So
Yes.
wicked that everything needs to be destroyed. But the only person who is okay is Noah. And it even
Yeah.
said no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. And so because of this, we're about to find out what's going to happen because the Lord has told him that there's going to be a flood to
Yeah.
wipe out the wickedness. Um, so that's about where we are. The Lord's about
Yeah.
to say something.
I wanted to point this out though. When it
Hmm.
did say that no man's person was accepted, save that of Noah alone, I love the rest of that sentence. For his
Oh,
person was accepted in behalf of his sons.
mm-hmm,
And so his sons must have been pretty righteous that they were able
mm-hmm.
to save their father, so to speak, that they didn't get destroyed, and God gave them a chance to live through the flood.
Yes.
So let's begin again, and I don't remember whose turn it is, so I'll just start because you gave this
Go
synopsis.
for it.
Okay, it says, and the Lord said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle and beasts and fowls of the air, and that which moveth on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make him an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects, as he commanded him, in the 27th Jubilee of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new moon of the 1st month.
Okay. So Noah's been commanded to build the ark. Woot.
Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo.
Which I think it's the thing that I find interesting here is, at least from my knowledge of Genesis, it kind of says a little bit about the dimensions of the ark and
Mm-hmm.
a couple of things where here it's he was commanded to build an ark.
And he did it the way he was commanded. And now we're done
Exactly.
talking about it.
Yes. Now this whole thing on everyone trying to figure out where did the ark land and how big was it and could it really have fit two of every kind of animal since the world was being destroyed, like so many questions that people have. And yet
Yeah.
in this version of the Apocrypha, no details. He was commanded to build it, he built it, and let's move on.
Yeah, I know. I think that's interesting. All right.
Okay.
23, my friend.
So, and he entered in the 6th year thereof. So, in the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th. And he entered, and all that we brought to him, and all that we brought to him into the ark, and the Lord closed it from without on the 17th evening. And the Lord opened 7 floodgates of heaven, and the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 months in number. Okay,
7 mouths.
mouths. Oh, yeah, sorry, 7 mouths in number. So it took him, it seems, in the 5th week, in the 5th year of the 1st month, is when he started.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 6th year thereof, so it was almost like a year.
Yeah.
Not quite maybe a
Not
year,
quite a
but
year because it was in the 2nd month
yeah,
of the
of
6th
the
year.
sec
And he
mhm,
started in the
5,
uh,
6,
5th
7, 8,
week of the 5th year.
9. Mhm.
So not quite.
So
Close, though.
that took less time in my mind than I don't know. I would think one guy really did well. He had his sons. Shipbuilding, we all picture the ark. The Genesis does talk a little bit about the size, how big that was. That took time, man. It must have been like sun up to sundown every single day for
Yeah,
that long of a time. Like that's a lot of work to do
absolutely.
in wood and using wood to build a boat. That has to be airtight, right?
Right. You would think so.
Mhm, mhm, because they had to forge tools, possibly, they had to, like, I that is a lot of joinery, I'll just say. I've watched okay, I admit, I like to watch those videos on, like, restoration or, like, building canoes and surfboards and those types of things, and when you see them build a wood canoe, like, that is legit out of wood. They've got,
Yeah.
they're hammering in, and that takes a long time to build an ark big. I don't that's a miracle to me in and of itself
Yes,
that they
because
got it done.
you do know that they have built a full-size replica of Noah's Ark in
Yes.
Kentucky, right? It
Yeah,
took them,
isn't it at a museum or something?
it's it's a park, a park type thing. Um, it
Kentucky.
took them 6 years to build that, and they were using machinery. They
Okay,
were not
yes.
doing it old folk style. It took them
So
6 years.
so in Kentucky, I just looked it up. It's at a Christian theme park,
Yes.
and it has a full-size replica, 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 51 feet high. It's a 3-story ark.
Yeah. But
Wow.
remember, I believe from reading this, they had help because remember it
Mhm.
says, and all that
Mhm.
we brought to him into the ark. So
Yes.
it only took them a year, but I don't think they were doing it themselves. I believe that the watchers were
Watchers
helping
were
them.
probably helping, or angels of some sort, someone. I That was
Yeah.
the other part of this that was so interesting, and all that we brought to him into
Yeah.
the ark. So others
So they
and
brought the animals for sure, I believe.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They brought it to him, and I like that it said that the Lord closed it from without.
Yeah.
It took them 16 what was it? Till the 16th. Um it took them and the Lord closed it on the 17th evening, so it took them a day to load it.
Yeah.
Um according to kind of the at least that phrasing. So on
Yeah.
the 16th they started, on the 17th evening they were done, and the Lord closed it.
Closed it on the
I never
17th
thought
evening.
about who closed the ark. Everyone likes to see it with like
A
oh,
drawbridge
a
string thing.
drawbridge thing that you then pull in and it's tight up against it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that made me, I don't know, my mind now pictured it differently. Like the Lord closed it.
Yeah.
Like
It
there
doesn't
was
mean they didn't have a rope, but he closed
it,
it.
he closed it from without. He
Yeah.
gave that final bit.
Yes.
And that he opened 7 floodgates.
Of heaven.
Okay, so that was a law of water.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 months in number. So, what
7
people don't
mouths.
actually realize is that there is a lot of water underneath the surface of the earth
Yeah.
that is fresh water, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made in my mind say, I'm now releasing all of that water that is held in the earth
Yeah. Um, and and from the heaven. Because
and
if
from the heaven. Uh huh.
we read on, it
Okay.
says, and the
Go ahead.
floodgates began to pour down water from the heaven
40
40
days.
days and 40 nights, and the fountains of the deep also sent up waters until the whole world was full of water. And the waters increased upon the earth. 15 cubits did the waters rise above all the high mountains, and the ark was lifted up above the earth, and it moved upon the face of the waters. So we
So,
have water coming down and going up both ways.
right. So, according to like conversions,
Mm-hmm.
it would be 15 cubits is approximately like a little about 22 feet.
Yeah. Taller
So
than the
it,
giants.
yeah, taller than the double the giants. Um,
Yeah.
so it,
That's a lot of water, man.
that is a lot of water to pour down, and to come out of the earth. But
Yeah.
15 cubits did it rise above all the high
High
mountains.
mountains.
So we're saying that all of that water came out and went 22 feet above the highest mountain.
Mm-hmm. And
That is a lot of water.
and here's where my brain goes.
Yes. Where does it go, Myrna? Into the weeds we go. I feel it. I feel it.
There's something
Mhm.
to do with, I don't know, gravity or whatever else you want to call it.
Sciencey stuff.
That, yes, sciencey stuff that kept the water around the earth instead of it
Flowing
flying
out into
into the
space.
universe, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Somehow it was held up against the earth and kept there instead of,
Well,
because my brain thinks of, okay, well, yeah, this is a lot of water, but it just kind of, it falls off the earth. It's round, so how does it stay on the earth, right? That's my brain. So then my
well,
brain
it
goes
does.
to Hunger Games and thinks that we have that we have that we have a globe
A
around
dome. A
us
dome.
holding us, a dome holding us in. I don't know. Anyway, so there has to be some type of sciencey thing that kept it here, because
There is. If
all
you
I
look
can
at
think of
it,
is, where did it go?
because
Right?
even right now our earth is like 75% water, and we still stay in the sphere.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the only difference is that we know that eventually the waters recede. We haven't gotten to that point, but we know from Genesis that it actually recedes. And so I think it's just interesting that a lot of that water must have receded back into the depths that it came from.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But what about the ones that came from heaven? Where did that go?
Yeah, it went into the water cycle, it evaporated, I
Yeah.
guess. Um,
It must have
God,
evaporated fast, because that doesn't evaporate that
it
fast
but
for
it had to have gone into
whatever
the earth
time
in
it
order
was,
for it
right?
to recede. Recede means it goes down. What did it do? I don't know, but that is, I
Well,
just never
yeah.
pictured all of the water. And okay, we can say this too. A lot of the topography of the land changes over time.
Hmm.
So what was the highest mountain at that point? I don't know,
Yeah.
because we know in the records that when Christ died, the earth was changed. That hills were made into valleys and mountains were in new places. A lot
Hmm.
happened.
Yeah.
Um so what was the highest peak at Noah's moment? I don't know, but the waters were 22 feet above that. That is a lot of water.
Yeah. I don't think it all could have gone back into the earth, because it all didn't
Right.
come from the earth. So
Correct.
I think
But the water
I
cycle is
believe I
evaporation.
believed it evaporated, but
Yes.
also,
Mhm.
who opened the gates?
Yeah,
God,
God, and
right?
he can
So
close those gates.
why could he not have some of it just go back into the gates, right? Why could he
Yes.
not ga- use his power
Yeah.
to, I don't know, all I can think of is a vacuum, suck it all
Yeah,
back
suck it
up,
all up.
right?
Yeah.
Who says he
Something,
couldn't do that, right?
something. Because
So, all right.
technically with the water cycle, could there have been like, it had to have been God to reign for 40 straight days, it seems to me, at that point, with that much water. Where did that water come from, right? To
Right.
rain nonstop for 40 days in that level of water, because we're saying
That was
22
some,
feet.
yeah, that was some pretty sad angels, because I was always
Hmm.
told it rained because angels were crying.
Well, they were crying because the watchers died with everyone else.
Probably. I don't know. Um,
That's where we get
but
it.
I mean, God caused it to happen. He could take,
Yes.
because
Take it up away.
in
Hmm.
in truth, the cycle for the water that we
Uh-huh.
have in our world at this time, there's no
Yeah.
way it could have gone through the cycle in the time
Yeah.
frame that
Yes.
Noah was ready to come out of the boat, right?
Well,
So
that's actually okay. Let us keep reading because it took a while for it didn't happen in one day that the water receded. He was in that boat for a while.
right, but it takes over a year's time frame for the cycle of water to happen.
Does it? Are we
Yes, look it up for
still
sure.
water cycle? Okay, I'm looking. So, what a the Water Cycle Center for Science Education.
Okay.
This is what it says.
Yes.
A drop of water may spend over 3,000 years in the ocean before evaporating into the air, while a drop of water spends an average of just 9 days in the atmosphere before falling back to Earth. Water spends thousands to hundreds of thousands of years in the large ice sheets that cover Antarctica and Greenland as well.
Okay, so even more than a year.
Um, oh
So
my
there's no
gosh.
way it
Oh
could have
my gosh, Myrna,
evaporated
you're
that
gonna.
quickly.
Okay, Myrna.
Okay,
Okay,
go, go,
Myrna.
go. I need to hear it. Bring it on. I love to learn.
Okay. I just clicked on one of the answers from Google or where it brings up the little people also ask, how long is a water cycle? As water travels through the water cycle, some water will become part of the global conveyor belt and can take
Oh,
up to 1,000 years to complete.
okay. So longer than a year. I thought it was just a year. So at
But
least
what did we
1,000 years.
learn about that? What did we learn about that? 1,000 days on Earth.
They is one day in heaven, right? Is it 1,000?
Mhm. Yep. Interesting.
So
For
it's
the
it's one day,
global
one day to
system.
him. It's one day to
Uh-huh.
him.
So a global system like that, for what happened with that water, it would take a lot of time. His hand had to be involved
It did. It did. If that much water came down, he
and
had to
out.
help. He
Mhm.
had to help get it out. Because I know he wasn't in the boat for 1,000 years.
Or so it seems to Myrna and I in reading.
Yeah, but we'll find out
So,
now. So you go on.
okay, I will go on here.
27.
27. And the water prevailed on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days. And the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ariat. And on the new moon, in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into the deep below.
Okay. So
Wow.
5 months, 150 days.
The water prevailed on the face of the earth. It took
Yeah.
5 months for it took 40 days to come down and out, and 5 months for it to go back.
Well, I don't think it all went back.
No, it didn't.
Well,
Well,
I
not all of it, because we
it
still
doesn't
have water. It
it
doesn't
doesn't say
specify.
for sure. It doesn't say for
Mhm.
sure. Because it says that it lasted that long, and then it says, and the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. So is that saying that
Mm.
in 5 months and 150 days, was it low enough
For the mountain to
for
rest
the
on it. Oh,
ark
that's a good
to
point. That's a
rest?
good point. Mhm.
Um, but not because we know it took him a little while before, even after it
Mhm.
rested,
Right.
before they were able to get out of
Get
the
out of
ark.
it because of the land. Mhm.
All right, so you want to discuss any more or want to find out more?
Um, Lubar, I brought that up last time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or a couple of times ago.
Do they know which one is Lubar?
So it says that it is Mount Lubar is a mountain in the land of Ariat. And it says that a dozen, because people ask, is the ark still on Mount Ariat? And it says that there have been about a dozen expeditions to date, and none of the expeditions have found the remains of Noah's ark. There have been other proposed
spots,
places, but nothing definitive about it. But Mount Ararat is almost 17,000 feet up.
Yeah.
That's quite high.
Yeah.
So, but the place does, like, it is being mentioned specifically, which I find interesting, which is why Mount Ararat has been, a lot of expeditions have tried to find wood and other things from Noah's Ark.
I tend to think, and this is just the Myrna thought,
yep,
that we're not going to find it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think that. It's not like I have any solution as to why we shouldn't be able to find it. But for some reason, I just don't think that we're going to find it. But that's just
and see,
the pessimism in me.
Now we're doing theories. This is Myrna and Jenn have theories. See, for me, the theory I have, which I think is shown over generations, especially if you look at medieval and Roman and that type of stuff, they were always reusing materials. So to me, if the entire earth was wet, totally wet, where are you going to get wood to burn anything to make a fire?
Yeah, to stay warm.
So I would assume that if you build it, you get to dismantle it and use the pieces how you need to use them.
Yeah.
So
no,
I could see that
I can see that.
That they would have used it for other means to
maybe even just build houses.
Take parts and take it apart.
Temporary shelter until they can go farther down the mountain. Right?
Because if they're at 17,000 feet, they would want to go down that mountain.
Yeah, and how did they? I mean,
and
how
pretty
did they
quick
survive?
because what maybe people don't get it, like 17,000 feet. When you're flying in an airplane, 10,000 feet is you don't need oxygen. You don't need an oxygen source. If the cabin depressurizes, you're going to be slightly okay. But above 10,000, you have to have an oxygen source to you.
Yeah.
Which is why climbing Mount Everest and those types of things, and in relationship, Mount Everest is
15, I want to say.
Yeah, Mount Everest height. Oh no, Mount Everest is 29,000 feet.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
So
why didn't they land there?
Remember though, the land still changed.
I know. Right? I'm just kidding.
But for right now, Ararat is at 17,000 feet. That's at 29,000 feet. But people who climb Everest, because of those limits on their lungs and body, have to have oxygen. So it's cold up there. They are going to need to move down the mountain.
Yeah.
And that would have been their only means of anything, because everything is sopping wet and drying out, and at least that's what my mind says in a practical manner. So theories according to Myrna and Jenn. So
Yeah, that's
let's
us.
okay.
Okay,
So
hang on.
mhm.
I'm asking a question here.
Okay, perfect. So I also find it interesting that they kept doing this stuff on the new moon, by
Mm-hmm.
the way,
Mm-hmm.
too. That's always interesting to me.
That's interesting. Okay, so I asked the computer,
I
because
love
I
that.
don't know what else to say, how high you can climb without needing additional oxygen.
Uh-huh.
And it says
Mhm.
most people can climb to around 8,000 meters, which is 26,000 feet, without
Okay.
needing supplemental oxygen, as this is generally considered the death zone where the
Yes.
air is too thin to sustain
Yep.
life without additional oxygen
Okay.
supply.
Okay. So
So I
that's
thought
kind of the marker,
that was
26,000.
kind of, yeah, 26,000.
Mhm.
Um,
But that's when you die.
and they were at
But
17.
up
Is that
and
what you
yeah,
said?
yes, at 17, but
So they
you
were okay.
see that they of course they could still breathe. They lived. The problem is that each little bit you go higher, it's harder for your lungs, which is
Oh
why at
yeah, yeah.
26,000 you die. So,
Mhm.
if you read about the
Well, the
climbers
pressure
in
actually
Evis, the
crushes your
pressure
lungs
it does. And so
because
that's
the
why you need the
outside
oxygen.
pressure is
Mhm,
more dense than the inside pressure. It's the same with scuba diving. You have that same
mhm,
problem when you get down there,
mhm. When you
scuba
go up.
diving.
Yep.
So yeah.
So I just
All
find
right.
it interesting about that. But the new
Mhm.
moon thing, so technically for those who don't know astronomy, new moon, the moon is between Earth and the sun, and the
Mhm.
side of the moon facing towards us receives no direct sunlight. It is lit only by dim sunlight reflected from the Earth itself.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting that the moon is between Earth and the sun, and the side of the moon facing toward us receives no direct sunlight. There has to be something in that. If I were to think about it metaphorically, because they do it specifically on the new moon.
Yeah.
And that tells us that they, of course, knew a bunch of that stuff,
Yeah.
that they waited for it. So,
Yeah.
who has
All
30?
right.
That's me.
I do.
Oh,
Um, yeah, because you read how much that the
sure,
water
I
all went
did.
back into the
Mm-hmm.
abyss, right? And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And on the new moon of the first month, the earth became visible. Okay, so the ground level.
Yep.
And the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week in the 7th year thereof. And on the 17th day in the 2nd month, the earth was dry. And on the 27th thereof, he opened the ark and sent forth from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So, again, and on the new
the
moon.
new moon.
So he was waiting for this specific time period in
Yeah,
order to do it. And on the new moon of the 10th month, so we first get the tops of the mountains seen, then its earth becomes visible, then the waters disappear from above the earth, and then
right.
the earth was dry. It took some time. It took like I'm looking at kind of the dates a little bit the way that it calculates it. Somewhere about months to the new moon on the 10th month, and the last month we had was the
Okay.
7th month. So 3 months.
It took to completely recede. Okay, so
Mhm,
I wanted to know really what it
mhm.
means by new month according to the Bible.
Oh, a new month. Mhm.
Uh-huh. It says the new or new moon, excuse
A
me.
new moon according to the Bible.
The
Mhm.
new moon signifies the start of a new month and is a holy
Oh.
day for worshiping God.
Oh, okay. That's why. They kept doing it on the new moon to worship, to
So the
show
first of the
worship to
month.
God, the first of the
Yeah.
month for them.
That's interesting because I was like, okay, what is this thing? I get
Mm-hmm.
kind of, but so I wanted to know if there was something different than what you explained when
Mm-hmm.
it has to do with the
Yeah.
Bible. Because sometimes
Right.
religious
Mm-hmm.
things are just a little bit different.
Yep.
And
But
so that's what this.
they were waiting for that phase of the moon, and that phase
Mhm.
told them this is the first of the month, and when it
Yeah.
happened, they
Hmm.
did all of these things. And if you we've just been reading, everything was being done on the
On the
first of
new
the month,
moon.
on the
Hmm.
sacred day,
Yeah.
like giving thanks to God. Like
Right.
we now start this anew. Like think about it, new month, this new thing we're going forth to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he sent forth from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving thing. Now, you know, Myrna, out there are lots of
Mm.
people who don't believe that the flood covered the entire earth. There are lots, they think it was more
Hmm.
localized. They
Yeah.
don't believe that there was two of every single creature on earth. It couldn't have fit in the ark. Okay. That is understandable. Uh, but he's saying every moving thing. The earth here had 22 feet of water. There's nothing I can think of that would survive that much water for that an extended period of time.
Right. But I think we have to remember this was really the animal kingdom was really
Mhm.
just beginning,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you don't have all of these
Diversifications. Mhm.
diversified animals. So we don't
Yeah.
have so many animals in a
Mhm.
classified species,
Mhm.
right? And so we didn't need to put all of them in the ark because they're beginning parts of those species are what
Mhm.
was on the ark. And then as they went through, then they changed and they had
Evolved and
they evolved, they mated with ones that are not exactly their same species. That's why we can think a little bit more than animals can. And so things changed. The Just like the land changed, the
right.
animal kingdom
Mhm.
changed to be different, more than the number of species that had to start. And I
Right.
think that's what was on the ark, was the number of species that had to start. That's just
I'm
my opinion.
right because that is definitely the way I think a lot of creationists like us believe.
Yeah.
That to some extent, diversification and evolution in different ways happened at that moment for us to get a lot of what we see now, in to
Right.
some degree.
Yeah. What we see now. Hmm.
Which is why I think I get annoyed when someone uh might understand that I'm a creationist. Immediately they're like, "Oh, so nothing evolved and nothing," and I'm like, "That's not, have you ever talked to a creationist?" Like,
Yeah. That's not,
we
we, we
that is
just,
not the belief.
we
Um,
just don't believe that it was the bang.
yeah, we don't believe it started with the Big Bang, that it was actually a design by what we would refer to as our deity.
Right.
Our God, there was a design and it was created, and there are lots of processes that were done. And one here
Yeah.
is that the flood happened and that he basically jump started life again. And whatever was in the ark helped to then go out again, like it went out from the garden, according to the Apocrypha, which is like a new bit of thought for me still.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I didn't think
he's
about them
he's
leaving.
gonna he's gonna start it again.
Hmm.
So, how many were actually there? Were there herds and herds and herds? I don't know.
I don't know.
But the watchers or God, angels brought them to the ark, and that's what Noah took care of.
Yeah.
Go Noah,
And
cuz
and I think some of the different species that we have now
uh-huh. Mhm.
has come because we as humans have intervened and
Mhm.
mated people or animals that would
Mhm.
not normally have mated. And so we have
Mhm.
actually produced some animals that would
Okay.
not have been alive at the time.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take that as a
because
theory.
we intervened. But
And here's
also, they evolved and
oh, oh,
changed
oh.
also to survive their land too. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to say I put a few thoughts together as I was speaking, and I kind of got a question now answered through the Apocrypha, if the Apocryphas are true. People
Mhm.
always ask, well, how can you have lions and lambs and all of that if they were all those kinds of animals in one location without them eating each other? Well, remember what was the commandment? The part of the corruption problem was that animals started to eat each other.
Yeah.
They didn't eat each other at the beginning.
Mhm.
So, going into the ark, it's quite plausible to me that yes, you can have alligators and birds and stuff all in the same location because God again was saying, I'm purifying and your
Well,
mouths are
yeah.
shut. You're now under that commandment that you were eating prey before, but now you're not.
Well, just like he picked Noah and his sons because of their
Correct.
righteousness,
Correct.
don't you think he picked the
I
animals to go onto the ark that would be obedient and not eat each other?
Okay, so that thought and concept has never entered my mind before.
Not mine either, but that just popped in my head. Would he
I
not
know,
pick
right?
those? He knows our
Yes.
hearts. He knows. I think
Yes.
he knows the hearts of the animals too, and he only
Yes.
picks the ones that would be obedient to not do that.
So I'm going to state that penguins and crocodiles, they made the list, Myrna.
They did make the list. I believe they did. I believe they did. And they may have been caged right next to each other.
Exactly, but they were besties.
They had to have been besties.
But it's those
All
types
right.
of
That,
but again, it's those thoughts that the
that you never would
Apocrypha
have thought of.
that I never would have thought of,
Right.
thinking through theories and pictures that I have in my head and altering them a little bit now. Um, is interesting because the doctrine that we have as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, yes, we have the Bible in Genesis and stuff, and we also have Moses in the Pearl of Great Price. And that details a lot of the garden stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as it goes out into the
Further
flood and all of
away.
that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I appreciate a new account to view and what I might
Yeah.
glean from it and understand from it that fits within the the broader framework of what I understand kind of some of that to be through doctrine, not through anything else, but through doctrine. But if there's
Yeah.
areas where it's not doctrine, I'm going to start to ask more questions. And some of these little questions, I feel like the Apocrypha is answering in different ways.
Well, yeah, because I don't know what person could read the story of Noah
Yeah.
and not have this one question.
Uh huh.
And that is, how did Noah get all the animals to the ark?
Yes.
How did he hunt them all down and grab?
Yeah.
And we have to
And
pick them over and say, okay, you're a
right.
female. Okay,
Yep.
you're a male. I mean, they had to do the sexting of them, right? And so my brain was always like, well, I don't understand. That must have taken forever, and he had to travel all over, and he had to. It never made sense. Did I not believe the story? No, I believed the story,
Correct.
but it just never made sense. This makes sense
Yes.
because he
No, it
didn't
didn't do
go
it.
and get all the animals.
No.
They were brought to him.
Yes.
And now I really do believe that they were the ones that would be willing to not eat each other and act like they became over time to act. And so this is answering some questions that
Yeah.
I never thought was important enough to throw the story out,
Correct.
but was important enough to say, I don't get it. That's a question on my list to ask when I get up there.
Right.
Right. So now I guess I can kind of take that off my list. Maybe my questions are going to be shorter after reading the
Yeah,
Apocrypha.
maybe.
But
Maybe.
it does answer some of those. It brings a lot more questions out. Don't
Yes,
get me
it does.
wrong, but
It
it
does.
does answer some of those basic questions that probably have floated around in my head
Right.
that weren't like what do you call it? When that makes you leave the church, it's not a, what's the word? It's not a, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to say. It's not a end all question that needed to be answered.
Right.
It's not a have to be
Right.
answered question, right?
Right. It's not a make or
would
break
make
your
me,
testimony.
there you go. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a make or break question, right? But it's there because we have brains and we think, right?
Yes.
But it's nice to have something that possibly could be the answer to it, right?
It's possible, yeah.
Because we know,
I'm having the same experience here. Go ahead.
Because we know that from what we're reading, at least from the Apocrypha, and you get in Hugh Nibley's book, and I think that maybe he got some from the Apocrypha, because I'm sure well, I don't know, maybe it wasn't all.
I don't know.
It may not have all been out by the time he passed away, but that they were in communion with God. They weren't down here by themselves until it
Correct.
until we rejected him. He was not down here all the time helping. I think there was a point where we as humans said, we don't need you all the time anymore. And so he backed off. But from what I see here, I think that they're communing and talking to him and learning from him and learning from other people. They're learning from people from the other side all the time. We just don't do that anymore as much.
Well, no, because in large part, the human beings have relied on their own wisdom and their own thoughts and their own abilities to build and create. They no longer attribute those things to God. They attribute them to themselves.
Right. Well, we become our own gods, right?
Yes.
Right? That's where we've come, especially now in society. People will make elaborate thought processes in order to prove that God's not there. I mean, they're like elaborate things where you're like, really? That just kind of is a little bit more than I can actually believe, right? Just to say he's not real. But yeah, so there we go. We're done with chapter 5. We're done with chapter 5. Woo! Okay, chapter 6 next time. Thank you for being with us and helping us to learn and grow, and hopefully you're learning as we're going along here. Please hit the like button, subscribe, communicate with us if you have any other questions. If you have any thoughts that you want to throw out that we didn't talk about, something that popped you into your head as you listened or as you read along, or as you have read it by yourself sometime and glean some new stuff, share with us. Let's have a continuation of discussion on this Apocrypha that has some truth in it that can make our understanding of the plan of salvation better, I think. So thanks for coming, and we will see you next week with chapter 6. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.